Welcome to another episode of Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. Of course, I'm your host, JJ Kitchen. We're here for another episode, a bye week episode, which is a little bit different than normal. And it's pretty crazy. Pitt now ranked 24th in the country, and the poll that matters, the college ball playoff poll, gets released on a Tuesday night. Almost went live last couple days, but wanted to wait till Thursday towards the end of the week as Pitt is in the first one. More importantly, they have a bye week this week, and then you have three straight opponents. Notre Dame, a top 10 opponent, ranked number 10. Some people think they're a little bit too high. In a way, I actually agree with them. We'll go over that more tonight. Georgia Tech in the top 15. And then Miami. Miami, who dropped all the way to 18. Pretty crazy amount of circumstances overall when you look at the college ball playoff and how they're ranking teams. I think the ACC got a little butchered, but at least the ACC has 5 teams in the top 25, according to the College Ball Playoff Committee, compared to 3 teams in the Big 12 with the easier schedule. It's going to be fun to talk about here tonight. As you can imagine, down below, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and make sure, if you want to get your question on the screen here tonight in this live stream, hit the super chat button down below, make a small donation to the podcast, and we will get your stuff on the screen. Change this background here real quick. Let's see here. There we go. All right, but before we get the show started, you guys always know the show is sponsored by Colonial Beer, located at 4986 Library Road in Bethel Park, PA, 15102. Great service, great customer service, and great people, small businesses, but more importantly, 2 great pitmen who run this organization, who support the University of Pittsburgh through their football programs, their basketball programs, the wrestling programs, and a lot of work what they do on a day-in, day-out basis when it comes to the University of Pittsburgh. But when you go to Colonial Beer, before you head down to your tailgates here, not this weekend, but next weekend for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish game, make sure you go ahead and stop there and get what you need. There's plenty of different selections, from your heavier beers to your lighter lagers. They have plenty of different selections. You guys have seen me post the pictures online. Make sure you go in there, say hello to everybody. But more importantly, make sure you stop down there before you go to the tailgate when it comes up to this game, and roughly almost 1 week away from a top 25 matchup. Again, Colonial Beer, located 4986 Library Road in Bethel Park, PA, 15102. The show is also sponsored by Thompson Law Group with Brian Thompson, an attorney on your side. Call them today at 724-799-8404 or visit them at thompsonattorney.com. Again, you guys have gotten to meet Brian Thompson, the spring game, the football games, the tailgating near the Carnegie Science Center. You guys have gotten to meet him, a very easy and approachable person. But more importantly, unlike the larger law firms, Brian cares about you, the individual. He doesn't treat you like a number. He treats you like an individual and makes sure you get the results that you need for your case. If he doesn't have the answer, he'll put someone in front of you that does, and he'll guide you through the process from beginning to end. Brian has a great family and comes from a great family. But more importantly, the amount of work that he does in the community, volunteer work, and overall the great father and great husband that he is. Make sure you go see Thompson Law Group with Brian Thompson. Call them today at 724-799-8404 or visit them at thompsonattorney.com. There we go. Last but not least, the K Collection, the coffee brand by Austin Kitchen at www.thekingscraft.com. Again, personally, my favorite, the AK Espresso. Again, I got one of these in the morning, and I'm just ready to go, firing on all cylinders. I tweeted out the other day, I'm like the Energizer Bunny from hell when I get one cup of these in the morning, and you're ready to go, and you're ready to start your day. Again, very cool, the backwards K Collection. You can get whole bean and crush it up yourself, or you can get the grounded automatically. You get both options. But again, the K Collection, the AK Espresso batch is personally my favorite. But plenty of other different options on there. Go on the website today at www.thekingscraft.com and get yours today. Austin Kitchen is the owner. He is a former Mount Lebanon alum here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a Coastal Carolina Chanticleer national champion, and now professional baseball player for the Seattle Mariners. Make sure you go today. The K Collection, the coffee brand by Austin Kitchen of the Seattle Mariners at www.thekingscraft.com. More questions and comments coming in here tonight. Again, some really good ones. Always good to have WRW Pitt. Smash the like button and subscribe. There we go. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. And we'll have a ton of questions coming in here tonight. It's the bye week and plenty of different things to talk about here today. We'll talk about the 24 ranking. We'll talk about the other teams that are in the top 25. We'll also talk a little bit about recruiting. We'll go over Pitt's class, which is currently ranked 39th overall, according to 247. I do expect that to continue to rise as Pitt adds more player to its recruiting class. I think the biggest fish out there right now that they are currently looking at is Matt Sieg. Pitt did a really good job of flipping linebacker / defensive end. We'll see what he looks like to get here. But Joshua Pittman, a flip from the Virginia Tech Hokies, always good to ruin a day for the Virginia Tech Hokies. So that was a major bonus for us. We get a great player out of that. Plenty of different offers: Indiana, Michigan State, Michigan, USF, Miami, plenty of different places that he had connections to. Virginia Tech, obviously. Very many good places he was looking at. Whether he's going to be a linebacker or defensive end, that time will tell. He's 6'3", roughly about 225 pounds right now. I think you put him in the Pitt Ironworks, man. I think you put yourself in a really good position overall. Man, my thing keeps going out here. Let me see here. There we go. There we go. So, obviously, a number of different things we'll look at here tonight. Questions coming in, obviously, about Matt Sieg. Adam Vincic, another guy who's in here tonight. Another Wombat in here for the live show. Let's go. Thank you for joining the show. JJ, are you hearing anything looking for the AC Network revenue sharing model this season? Right now, that kind of stuff's behind closed doors quite a bit. I would think right now that's pretty tight and pretty closed-lip. We won't know the actual numbers because one, you have to look at a number of different factors: the brand stuff, the viewership. I think Pitt's viewership right now is in the middle of the ACC. With these games coming up, Pitt was stuck on the ACC network these last couple games they were on, but the Florida State game was big. This Notre Dame game will be big, I would imagine, even at a noon kickoff. I know there's some questions here about that as well, about a noon kickoff. I'll look at that question here in a second. Again, if you want to get your question up on the screen here tonight, guys, super chat button down below. It'll come right to the top before anybody else's, and it will certainly get my attention, to say the least. That kind of stuff, though, the sharing model, that'll come out after the season because it depends on how they wager it, how they all measure it. I think that kind of stuff gets really in between the weeds. But when it comes to viewership, these next 3 weeks for Pitt are going to be huge because they'll be on national television for 3 straight weeks. Against Notre Dame, you'll be on ESPN, ABC, which will be a massive game, even at noon. I would expect probably between 3 to 5 million viewership right there. That's going to be a massive factor and more going into that as well. Can't believe they made Notre Dame game at noon kickoff. I know it was almost impossible for a 7:30 kick because the Steelers playing early the next day. Still should have been a 3:30 game. Yeah, Sean, I'd like to have it a 3:30 game. Obviously the tailgating, taking in the whole experience. I still think Pitt's really in the running for college game day at this point. But at the end of the day, the Steelers, they played the next day. It had a lot to do with it, from what I'm told, from a number of different networks, from the University of Pittsburgh. It is what it is. For how much the Steelers have complained about Pitt this year, which, again, the Steelers, their entire existence, whether it was Forbes Field, whether it was Pitt Stadium, they shared a stadium with Pitt at Pitt Stadium. They had to use their stadium for over 10 years. Three River Stadium, they had to share a stadium there with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then they get Heinz Field at the time by getting public funds because they asked and begged Pitt to join them in that venture. It is what it is. Honestly, it's a double-edged sword almost. I think as an NFL stadium, I think Acrisure a pretty shitty stadium for the NFL. But when you look at college overall, I think it's a really good stadium for Pitt, and they certainly do a really good job of putting that on there as well. So it is what it is. We certainly weren't getting to 7:30. We couldn't get to 3:30. It is what it is. I can tell you this crowd will be rocking at noon. And I've heard plenty of people, and again, to the people that have texted me all day today asking about tickets to the Notre Dame game, and my response to you is the same thing I'm telling you here tonight. There's nothing I can do for you. You had to have these tickets. They went pretty quickly. I know Pitt fans were grabbing them up and really stacking it up pretty quickly as the week was going on. Even before this week, you got to get those in. And I've told people over the years, it's cheaper to actually get season tickets than it is to buy individual games because each price of the ticket goes up depending upon who's selling those tickets. So I can tell you this, there's going to be 65,000 plus at Acrisure Stadium over the weekend, and it's going to be one hell of an atmosphere, especially John Gruden. Mason Heinchel gets interviewed by John Gruden, which is pretty incredible, on Barstool Sports. John Gruden, putting Mason up there on a pedestal, which was huge. More viewership, more notoriety for the University of Pittsburgh, which was massive. Had over 4 million views there between YouTube, X, and their Barstool accounts. That was really big. Also, too, John Gruden, again, former wide receiver coach at the University of Pittsburgh. In his 1 year here, he only had one loss. He will be coming to the Pitt Notre Dame game here at Acrisure Stadium. So if you want to meet John Gruden, suggest you find a way. If someone doesn't have those tickets, make sure you find a way to get tickets, and you'll be able to get on the football field, or at least get in the stadium or close to it, to be able to meet John Gruden. Have ourselves here the first super chat here tonight. Brian Thompson, did you hear any rumors that Notre Dame is going to dig up their practice field to prepare for Acrisure? That's pretty funny. No, I did not hear those rumors, but I tell you what, it is the playing surface stuff. For people that don't know, you can look at the playing surface stuff and very much tell. I've been an advocate on here and someone who brings you exactly what I hear, guys. I really do expect by 2031 that we have a separation of Pitt and the Steelers, having their own stadiums, and whether the Steelers do move out north or out down south, a lot like what the NFL is doing now. Chicago Bears are going to the suburbs. The Buffalo Bills are in the suburbs. The Cleveland Browns are going to the suburbs. I know the Steelers personally. I do know, from allegedly talking to a number of different people, they are looking to move out of the city if it's possible, to create a whole different environment. If they don't, they'll certainly stay at Acrisure Stadium, but it looks to be roughly between $800 and $900 million in renovations to what they want to do. That number was thrown out by a number of different people on 93.7 The Fan and a number of different places. But if you look at it, it's that time of the year where it's 2025. We're going into 2026. The conversation's coming pretty quickly about, is it going to be renovated or is it going to be a new stadium for the Pittsburgh Steelers? And it's going to be one or the other. It's coming pretty quickly. 2030 is the last season of the lease. The lease is up in February of 2031. So, really 2030 is your last year of football in that stadium, whether, as is, before they make any major adjustments to it. But this is a pretty good comment by Brian Thompson. Yeah, they have turf over there, but you know what? They may actually buy some field grass and then have the students run on it, then try to practice on it. But that's a great comment. Thank you for the super chat, Brian. Another Wombat here tonight and putting another super chat as well, $5 super chat. I'm taking some lady friends to the game. It's going to be awesome. I try to go every home game. What's the honest opinion of how Pitt will do? And another Wombat, this is a great question. And, from talking to a number of different people, I think I can sit here today and we'll know more next week when we start to see how the team's practicing. What exactly does the game plan look like, things of that nature. The team is already preparing for Notre Dame, which is a major factor, I think a major plus, because Notre Dame's preparing right now for Navy. They're traveling and they're going to be able to face Navy. Navy will be coming to Indiana, in my opinion, up at Notre Dame Stadium. I feel very good about this game because the way Pitt has played, and people talk about the schedule, whatever, the Big 12 people. I mean, the Big 12 is such an absolute just shit show from top to bottom. I mean, look at West Virginia and Colorado, too. I mean, two teams that probably have a better chance of getting into Conference USA than actually winning the conference. Pitt took care of business and who they faced. They have already one ranked win against Florida State on the road. That was the first real step that proved to me what kind of football team this is with Mason Heinchel and how different this football team is. The second reason is the game's at home. If it was at Notre Dame Stadium, I'd be more concerned. In that type of environment, I know Mason was pretty much already prepared. With the 88, 90,000 plus that were at Doak Campbell Stadium against Florida State. But I think being at home in this raucous environment, it reminds me a lot about the Clemson game, multiple Clemson games that we had. At Acrisure Stadium that had 60,000 plus. I mean, they were just really hyped up big time games that you were getting ready for. The West Virginia games were pretty different because they were rivalry games. People wanted to get ready for those football games because it was a rivalry. It was the renewal of the rivalry and coming back up here. That was a different thing. I think the importance of the football game reminds me a lot of really 2021 and 2022. or I should say 2021 and 2024 of the Clemson games that came here. And the 2021 game was rocking. I mean, it was absolutely unreal for how well they played. And, Pat Narduzzi's record against Dabo is actually probably the best in the ACC when it comes to head football coaches. But you look at this game, those are the two factors. One, the raucous environment, they were prepared for that. Two, what this team looks like moving forward. But number three, I think that the biggest factor for me is that they're getting a lot of guys back, from my understanding. It looks to be that Jaden Moore should be ready to go full time. They've had him on snap counts. We'll see what that actually looks like next week. Jaden Moore will be back. Rasheem Biles will be back. Kyle Lewis is back. I think Desmond Reed will be back. I think, he wanted to play last week, but he just wasn't just 100%. And the way Jakiri Boozy Turner's been playing, he's been a major factor in what Pitt does in the offensive game. And you had it 22 rushes for 127 yards rushing, Jakiri Boozy Turner. So right now you've got probably this coming week, you'll have Desmond Reed, Jakiri Boozy Turner, and Joel Goff, a three-headed monster right there. Kenny Johnson, I expect him to be back and healthy this week, which will be a major factor. Raphael Poppy Williams, he's 100% healthy. It's good to see how he's been playing. He continues to step up. Blue Hicks continues to play at a high level. The same thing with Deuce Spann. Just the team is really coming together. And I think that the offensive line was really a tale of two halves. I think the first half was a real struggle match for them. But the second half, the offensive line, I thought really took off, even with the amount of shuffling that was going on there. I thought Kendall Stanley had a much better second half. I think, Lyndon Cooper had a great second half. B.J. Williams had a great second half. Ryan Bayer had a great second half. Ryan Corretto was certainly incredible, being able to move in and out. When Lyndon Cooper went out, he moved over to center. We had a number of guys moving back and forth. Giovanni Coley, I thought, did really good in the second half there. The team's really just coming together, and that's what you want to see at this point. It's the team getting better. And I think that, I tweeted out recently this week, when you look at this football team from week 1 to where we are, they're 7-2, week 9, week 10, and we're in really week 11, here in week 11 because of 2 bye weeks. The team has gotten better, and the team looks completely different with Mason Heinschel at the quarterback position, and a guy that is really just dialed into the tape right now in the facility every single day, even a bye week. The guys that are not healthy are getting 100%. They're in there every day, being able to put their bodies through a lot of great treatment, making sure they'll be 110%. I think it's being at home, Mason and these guys going on the road. They already have one ranked win against Florida State. But number 3, just these guys being healthy. I think that's a major factor, and getting more guys back is only a good thing. And also, the team is clearly more mature than previous years, and I think that this team understands the portion of what this win would mean by going 8-2 and getting another second ranked win as the season goes on. I mean, it's a massive game. I mean, call it what it is. You can't hide from it. It's a massive football game, playoff implications. I mean, if Pitt wins out, they're going to be very much on the verge of being in a what is it called? Up for grabs, a toss-up spot, at large bid, because you'll have Florida State. If they win out, they have Florida State, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami. That's 4 ranked wins. How many teams in college football right now have four ranked wins? I'm just excited about this Notre Dame game. I think that the team understands, from everybody that I've talked to, that how important it is. I can tell you this right now. They want to see Acrisure Stadium through the roof, and I mean loud, and people on their feet yelling. The entire game. I can promise you this. I go to every single home game. I'm glad you go to every single home game. Another Wombat. Great to have you taking a couple friends with you as well. This is a massive, massive football game. And I expect a lot to be the same. There'll be Notre Dame fans there as well. I think about Pitt will probably have about 55,000 of Pitt fans there, and then roughly about 10,000 Notre Dame fans. And the Notre Dame's got a very strong presence. Majority of them obviously have not graduated from Notre Dame, but they are fans of Notre Dame. But this is a big, massive game, and I think that the stadium's going to be packed. It's going to be loud. The atmosphere will be there, but from hearing from inside the building, it's going to be important for us as fans. When we're in that stadium, you're on your feet and you're loud as hell. You are loud as hell in that stadium, and I can tell you this. Myself, Brian, we'll be in the lots at 7 a.m. We'll be geared up, and when we go in that stadium, I mean, let the thunder roll, baby. Let Thunderstruck roll, and then lock the gates, and let's go kick some ass. I mean, that's what it's gonna be. Another super chat here, Pitt fan. Hail to Pitt. I'm ready for the Rock the Royal. Expected a defensive masterclass. We got some dogs returning to the lineup. I'll tell you what, man. I could not agree more with you. I think if you go back, you guys have seen me post it, obviously online. The Clemson game, the West Virginia game. The Rock the Royal. The Royal looks great with the royal blue and the yellow in that stadium. I mean, holy hell, it looks incredible. I would imagine we're going to have Rock the Royal because I think it's one easy for everyone to get a hold of, much easier to plan for. I saw stuff on Twitter this week about striping the stadium. Guys, that has so much work that goes into it. That's not just like a week before type of item because you have season ticket holders that go there. You got to get a hold of everybody. It's very simple. Rock the Royal, wear royal blue. And I think that the royal blue just sticks out for Pitt so well. It's going to be a tremendous atmosphere. I think that the Rock the Royal will be a sea of royal blue. I expect the Panther Pit to show up, like they have been all season long. And let me tell you, man, I sit where I'm at in the club area right there, right next to the Panther, the Panther Pit, and right above the band. I'll tell you this, man. They are rocking every single game. And you can hear it. And when I go back to watch the tape every night after a game, you can hear them rocking in the student section. So, I mean, right now, here's what I can tell you this, man. I am ready to watch that Panther Pit get after it this week and absolutely create a raucous environment and getting after it. And then right when the game starts, we lock the gates, you let the thunder roll, and you get Thunderstruck rolling, and let's go kick some ass, man. Just let it roll. Let the rumble begin. Pitt versus Notre Dame on a noon afternoon game in November, baby. There's nothing like it. Let the thunder roll. Appreciate the super chat there. Number of questions still coming in here. I know here. Let me see. Hail to Pitt. The TikTok man. I like the roster moving forward. Not as many holes to fill this offseason, and they aren't skilled positions. Spend more money on a couple proven linemen. I would expect Pitt to continue to rise in the rankings in terms of how they're spending money. I know that they've done a really good job this year, and you guys have heard me on here. I tell you what I'm told, man, and I can tell you this. Alan Green is doing a hell of a job raising money right now. And there's been a lot of optimism with us winning right now and the amount of people that are donating to the University of Pittsburgh, thousands of people donating to the University of Pittsburgh, major donors returning back to the University of Pittsburgh to drop seven-figure donations. One 10, I'm sorry. I almost said 10-figure. One 8-figure donation. It's great to see because right now, look at Pat McAfee on the college game day talking about West Virginia. I mean, they had a guy walk away. I mean, and Pat McAfee had to pick up the bill. I mean, that's a school that's really struggling for money in NIL. We could be in that situation. I'm just happy that right now everything's moving in the right direction. And I know I had a question in here. Adam Vincic, the percentage you think that Sieg will commit to Pitt? I'm going to go, I think right now, as we sit here, because he's going through all of his visits, which is a really good thing on his end. I'm going to say right now, we've got about, I would say, I'm going to go 68% chance that Matt Sieg commits to Pitt. I just think it makes too much sense. I think he's close to home. The only thing that I really think that could upset that, I don't think, I think tonight actually on KDKA, if you guys did not see on KDKA, he said the top teams are Pitt, Indiana, West Virginia, and wherever James Franklin goes to. And to be quite frank with you, I think that the only thing that could really upset the commitment to Pitt, possibly, I believe, in my opinion, is maybe when James Franklin gets a job somewhere. I think that could probably be the only thing that really upsets it. But I do have a strong feeling about him going to Pitt, man. I just think he would fit the system here well. I think he would start out on defense, but he would play offense as well. I think he'd be a two-way player. That's how good of a player he is, in my opinion. But we'll continue to watch it. Before we get into any more questions, I don't see any more super chats, so we're going to dive into it here to get the show really started off here. First up, I'm going to go into it here. The top 25. Pretty notorious. I'm actually going to go on to X here and look up what I posted here. Probably should be able to see media here. I want to be able to see an item here. Let's see if we can get one of the Fox Sports. Let's see, college football top 25. I want to get an image here. Here we go. College football Canes. I'm going to share my screen with you guys here and talk about here this top 25 and where I think guys are and where I think they're ranked at. I think, Pitt's obviously in a fair position for where they're at right now. 7-2. They certainly rebounded pretty damn well. Pretty funny here. Pretty funny comment from some of these guys. Where's Penn State? I count 5 ACC teams. I was told Big 12 had a conference was basically a G6 conference was basically a G6 conference. Yeah, that's a great comment there too. But looking at it here is the first college football top 25. Obviously you got Ohio State. Personally, I don't think Ohio State's number one in the country. I think Indiana is. I think Indiana continues to play at a high level and playing a really damn good style of football right now. I think they continue to play at that level. I would actually have Indiana at number 1, Ohio State number 2, and then Texas A&M, I agree with that, number 3. Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss at number 6. The BYU Cougars, they're undefeated. How they're up that high, and Virginia is not where they're at. BYU almost lost to one of the worst teams in college football in West Virginia, one of the worst teams in college football, Colorado. So they're up there. Texas Tech Raiders have one loss. I think the additive of money's up there. Oregon Ducks this year had got a lot of commotion all week. Notre Dame being ranked 10th in the country. I do believe that they are a really good football team. I think they struggled last week against Boston College. It was pretty tight, that game. I think it was like 18-13 at one point, or 18-10. A very close football game. Notre Dame ended up winning the football game 25-13, 25-10, something like that. I begin watching the tape here later on tonight before I go to bed for Friday, before the last day of the week before work. Notre Dame being up that high, I do understand. I think they're actually a good football team. That the two losses they have are pretty damn good teams in Miami and Texas A&M. Texas A&M being 3rd in the country, but I do believe that Miami should be higher. I do believe Miami should be at number 10, or if Notre Dame would be at 9, or Notre Dame at 11 or 12. I think you could circulate that, but I think even with the two losses, their last two losses really hurt them. I think they should be higher though. I'm kind of shocked that Miami is that low, because you have it in here. Texas at 11, Oklahoma at 12, Utah at 13. And the first 8 seed team here, Virginia 8-0. They should not be 14th. I think they should be in the top 10. They're an undefeated Power 4, conference opponent. How do you have BYU in there when they almost lost to really two horrific football teams in the Big 12 recently, especially too, you have them up that high. I understand they're undefeated, but they did find a way to win. But Virginia's done the same exact thing, and they almost lost to what? They lost by 7 points. They beat Colorado by 7 points, and they're getting thrubbed by 30-plus points a game by every team in the Big 12 because they're just so bad right now. The Louisville Cardinals, I think they should be up higher as well for how well they continue to play. That's a game that I think we'll come back to. You look at the game, for Pitt, that's a game that they should have won, even for how bad Eli Holstein played in that game. Multiple turnovers in the red zone. That should be a game they should have won. Vanderbilt obviously dropped down pretty bad because they're a loss. Georgia Tech here with one loss. They dropped to 17. Miami at 18. And then Pitt down here at 24. I think that for Pitt, their situation's pretty easy. You couldn't have asked for a better schedule with that many top 25 opponents. And I guess what you have, a top 10 opponent, a top 17, and then top 18. So, you got 10, 17, and 18 right now, and those teams continue to win. They continue to go up. So Georgia Tech wins this week, they'll jump up probably in the top 15 if one of those teams up front, because you look at Texas Tech and BYU, they play each other this week. So how far will they drop? That'll be interesting to see how far they go there. So it'll be interesting. But, the ACC has 5 teams in there. I think this will all really work itself out. If you're in the position that Pitt is, Pitt can cause the most chaos when it tries to climb the ladder right now. You win these next 3 games, especially the Notre Dame game. I think you jump up pretty big because Notre Dame, in my opinion, is still a damn good football team. I think that they're very much the pro-style offense. They love to run the football. A lot what you saw with Frank Signetti when he was here, where they want to run the football, but they will certainly go under center. They love to do play action. They love sending a lot of that 11 personnel, sometimes even 12 personnel. A lot of different concepts where they're really going over the middle, crossing routes, but also too deep posts. Really having that one guy go deep where you have an opportunity to throw the deep ball. Really just try to take the top off. They love to do that kind of stuff. If you can really stop the run against Notre Dame and that physical offensive line that they have, I think it really becomes a very interesting football game, because I'm more worried about the running game, where they struggled last week against Boston College. You saw some cracks there in their offense, but I think this is going to be pretty interesting this coming week for Pitt when they face them, because it's a physical offensive line at Notre Dame. They're certainly well known for their offensive line play, but Pitt's defense is continuing to play at a high level, and they've done a tremendous job. I mean, last week they had -10 rushing yards against Stanford. They continue to be dominant up front, and I think that this challenge for them, these two top 25 teams, it's going to be a hell of a matchup, and I think that Pitt is going to be certainly prepared for the level of contact and physicality and violence in this football game up front. And in my opinion, the winner of this football game will be dependent upon who controls the line of scrimmage. If you control the line of scrimmage, you will win this football game, either side, in my opinion. Some more comments coming in here, checking here. O-line is key. I couldn't agree more. But yeah, the top 25 sits pretty nice there right now. So let me see here. Load this up. That there. Let's see here. Down there. Perfect. All right, there we go. So there's the top 25, but there's a number of different factors also in here as well that I wanted to talk about here tonight. Brian Thompson. So it sounds like we're going to have an advantage with the field condition, perhaps. I think so. That is going to be something to really also, this is actually a great point by Brian Thompson, by the way, because last week that there was 3 missed field goals by Notre Dame. I think that was pretty noticeable when I was watching that as well. 3 missed field goals in that football game. How does Notre Dame perform in Acrisure Stadium, which is by far one of the hardest places to kick a field goal if you're not used to being there because of the surface, but because of the open side of the end zone with the wind that certainly whips through there. That'll be something to certainly watch and see what does Notre Dame look like when it has to kick field goals. That'll be very interesting to see. Did they get those corrections done? That'll be interesting to watch, because I know it's going to be tough in that stadium for them to kick. From what I've seen, ESPN Game Day will be in Athens, Georgia for the Texas-Georgia game on November 15th when Pitt plays Notre Dame. I didn't see that from ESPN. Were you able to say where you saw that from? Because if I'm not mistaken, they've already been in Athens this year. So I don't think they would go back. That wouldn't make any sense. They've never gone back to the same venue twice in the same year. So I don't think that is right. But I'll have to check. We're going to stop sharing here, and then we're going to look at the recruiting class, and then obviously we'll get into the coaching searches and whatnot, and what that sounds like and what that looks like. But 2026 commits. Right now, we look at 247. I think 247 does probably the best job overall. Pitt ranked 39th in the country. Director of Player Personnel, the GM of Pitt football, Graham Wilbert. He is there. A number of good football players here in this class. I think they did a really good job so far in this class. And there's a number of guys, a lot like last class, that you say, okay, hey, there's some really underrated football players in this class. And just wanted to go through a couple of them that I had recently looked at, and I thought, hey, this is a damn good class. First one up, again, Damon Ferguson seems to be 100% from anybody I've talked to, locked in, 4-star running back, 5'11", 190. This guy's going to be a damn good football player. Jaden Dunbar has been ranked 4-star by a number of different people. We got to get him. We beat out the University of Georgia for him, which was huge. Isaiah Simmons, that's going to be a good guy, 6'5", too, a really big guy there. You love him. And obviously, too, he's got great speed there. Here he's an 89. I would imagine by the end of the year, he'll probably be a 90 in that 4-star ranking on all, as a consensus 4-star. Isaiah Simmons, also almost a 4-star out of Norfolk, Virginia. A really damn good linebacker. He can play linebacker. He can play defensive end if they really needed to. I think he'd be a damn good linebacker, in my opinion. I think he's fast. He's physical, very, very talented in that middle style of the defense. Pitt loves to run in that 4-3 style defense. Logan Nagel. This is going to be one that's going to be a dogfight, I think. DePaul Catholic out of Wayne, New Jersey, 6'5" defensive lineman, 6'5", 270. He's going to be a defensive end at Pitt. I think he's damn good. Probably one of the better defensive ends that we're going to get. 89 overall right now. I think he gets to be a 4-star consensus here as he bumps up to a 90. The guy, I think the teams that we're really fighting off at this point, one of the teams is University of Miami. They really try to get involved here. I think if Logan sees the type of defense that we run here and the type of development they have, I think it's a no-brainer to go to Pitt and then get on the field, especially when you look at the defensive end room. You look at this class when it comes to defensive ends. Let me tell you something, man. Defensive ends, I think Logan could probably play in and out just because he's that athletic. But yeah, Logan Nagel in this class. You got Reston Lehman in this class out of Peters Township. In my opinion, 2 4-star defensive ends to some other rating services. I think that they're just that good and really, going to be complete. Defensive ends. That's a great defensive end class right there. But they continue to add more and more as we go on. Also in this class, out of Pearland, Texas, Nicholas Howard, offensive tackle at 6'5", 285 pounds. I think he gets to that 4-star ranking consensus. He's got a 4-star ranking from a number of different services as well. Nicholas Howard, offensive tackle. I think he's going to be really damn good. Jacob Bronowski just really getting Pitt into those trenches in terms of going to Texas and pulling a lot of great football players out of Texas. And I think he's going to be one of those guys. He's 100% locked into Pitt, and that'll be fun to watch here as well. Another dogfight, I think he says, he's 100% committed, but he may take a visit, which, you understand that. At the end of the day, if you're taking a visit, you're taking a visit. But at the end of the day, Marcus Jennings, who I think is probably the best linebacker in this class, number 1 linebacker in Michigan, damn good football player out of Cass Tech, Detroit, Michigan. That's Archie Collins territory for how many great players he's got out of there. The home of Avonte Maddox. Terrence Enos came out of there as well, offensive lineman. Marcus Jennings, a really good football player, 6'2", 200 pounds. He'll probably get up to 220, 225 at some point whenever he's here, adding more weight on. He's almost to a 4-star prospect. He continues to be very aggressive. This is going to be a dogfight with Michigan. When you're a Michigan kid, you're from Michigan, that kind of stuff does weigh on you a little bit. I can tell you personally, I think that he does end up signing with Pitt as long as Pitt continues to be very aggressive on terms of keeping him committed here. He recently told a couple outlets that he was 100% committed to Pitt. He still may take a visit to Michigan. When you're on that campus, things can change pretty quickly. I think as long as they had the conversation with him, I think they should be able to lock him up and really get him to go to the University of Pittsburgh. And again, linebacker at Pitt, man, you look at the defense right now, the major line of development. The guys are going to the league. Kyle Lewis will leave the University of Pittsburgh after this year, head to the NFL. I think Rasheem Biles will probably go to the NFL draft. He'll be another guy that's gone. So you'll have Braylon Lovelace back. Braylon Lovelace, Cam Lindsey, Jeremiah Marcelin, Jalen Bonsu. So that's 4 guys right there. Nick Lappy, I think, should be back again. So that's 5. And then some guys that really in the back end, Bruton, it's also there. Devin Bruton, he's back there as well. Emmanuel Taylor, a guy who step up as a redshirt freshman. The line just continues after that as they continue to develop linebackers. So I think the linebacker, committee going to the NFL has been pretty steady. Here they have him as a linebacker, but he will be a defensive end at the University of Pittsburgh at Peters Township here. Whippeal hometown hero Reston Lehman, a 6'4", 230 defensive end. He plays both sides of the football. Peters Township. I talked to a number of his football coaches. The first thing they say is he's been a pleasure to coach. One of the best guys that they've gotten to coach over their careers while they've been coaching at Peters Township. A kid who just loves to play the game of football. A great student of the game. But naturally, anytime, even when he's grown up, just a physical specimen, a very strong individual, especially at 6'4", 230. He's already has that size on him. I truly believe as a true freshman, you'll see Reston Lehman get a lot of reps, I think, at defensive end, a lot like a Sincere Edwards you saw a couple of years ago. I think Rustin Lehman is that next guy that takes that next step as a defensive end that comes into the University of Pittsburgh and really gets on the football field very early and actually makes an impact. I think he's that damn good of a player, and I think he'd be a damn good football player, Pitt, for all 3 or 4 years. And he's got the talent to go to the NFL. That's my opinion. We go through here, making sure I don't have any super chats there. Corey Daly, quarterback, Seguin, Texas, quarterback, 6'6", 190 pounds, currently sitting at 87 overall, almost to a 4-star there. I think he's, at that size, they said he's very athletic, has a really good arm. Again, Jacob Bronowski finding this guy, anytime you go down to Texas and get a football player like that, I think they continue to be a major factor. And again, another quarterback people weren't talking about. I do hear there's a lot more interest going down there to try to get him to decommit from Pitt because there's a lot more interest. That'll be certainly something to watch, but he's a damn good football player, I think. And Pitt, again, jumps on a player early. Now everybody else will try to get in late. So as long as they can hang on to this guy, I think he does a really good job and ends up signing with Pitt, in my opinion. Dylan Wester, I think this is going to continue to be a battle, whether it's Miami, Florida State, a number of different schools are going after him. Athlete, 5'9", 160, can really play wide receiver, can play running back. I think he's that good of an athlete. I think he'll be a really good football player if he does commit here, in my opinion. I think he's that good, and he'll continue to show over time. Kentrell McCray Jr., cornerback, 6'2", 160 pounds, out of Clearwater, Florida. Again, you look at the size. 6'2". He's got great length. A guy that's very physical at the point of attack and play in the quarter-style defense that we like to play in. I think he's going to be a damn good football player, especially that size. You love the guys that have size, certainly have a great number of speed. I think he's got the physicality of a Jason Pinnock, but just a little bit faster. I think that's a good thing about Kentrell McCray, and he'll be a really good football player, I think, in my opinion, at Pitt. Brian Hamilton, and this will be another dogfight, in my opinion. Brian Hamilton out of Tampa Bay, Florida, wide receiver, 5'11", 165 pounds, a 3-star athlete. I think what's really in contention right now is between Pitt and Colorado. The Deion Sanders effect. Obviously, we lost the battle to Colorado. We lost a wide receiver there in the transfer portal, which has clearly shown that was not a good move. I told people it was not a good move before the season started. I told them during the offseason it was not a good move. It is what it is. We all make a business decision, and I think he's running out of opportunities at this point. But Pitt was definitely the better place to go, but just didn't make that decision. Brian Hamilton is really down between, he's committed to Pitt. I think he does sign with Pitt, but again, when you're talking to Deion Sanders and you're having those conversations, you never know what could happen. But at the end of the day, I do think he does sign with Pitt, but they got to be able to be very aggressive in this time period. Let's see here. Demetrius McCray, wide receiver out of the First Academy in Orlando, Florida. Another Florida prospect, 6 foot, 180 pounds. Good wide receiver, great speed in and out of his routes. I think he's a great route runner, which is very rare when you're coming out of high school. I think that the route running usually comes later on, but he has established himself as a really good route runner and also great speed. Just getting up here to the college level, we'll see how they adapt. But you can see Bryce Yates has done a really good job. Tony Kinsler's done a really good job. A number of different freshmen in this first class have done a good job, so he'll be one to watch as the season goes on next year. Deron Barksdale, hometown here out of Steel Valley in Homestead, PA. They got him at cornerback here on here, but I think he's going to play linebacker when he gets to Pitt. I'm sorry, not linebacker. He will play corner, 5'10", cornerback or safety. I think he's that physical. He can play at a high level there. 5'10", 175 pounds. Again, I think that people are really overlooking this kid. I think he's actually very physical at the point of attack. I think he's got plenty of great speed. He had an injury last year, and people really stopped recruiting him. Pitt did not do that. They use their eyes. They don't look at the star ratings. And this is a kid who, in my opinion, I think is that damn good. I think that people look at the injury and say, well, we don't know if he's going to be back to 100%. You watch him play this year. He looks 100%. He looks like a damn good football player, in my opinion. So pumped to have him as well. A big recruiting win on the recruiting trail earlier this year. If you remember, Desmond Johnson, out of Northwestern High School, Miami, Florida. Again, this is a dogfight. He had a number of big-time offers coming his way. Linebacker, 6'1", 195 pounds. I mean, the offer sheet here, if we dive into it, to show you guys here, there's a number of players in here. You look here, just straight off the bat, you had Pitt, Missouri out of the SEC, UCF out of the Big 12, Arkansas out of the SEC. Let's see what else we got here. Florida State here in the ACC, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Michigan, Mississippi State out of the SEC, NC State, SMU, USF, Wake Forest. I mean, the name goes on and on and on. A number of big-time offers there. That was a big recruiting win. I don't see anything happening to where he does not commit to Pitt. So I think that's a very good one. And you watch his tape. This is a guy in the run game who's just going to be an absolute animal. I mean, I think he's going to be that good, especially in the middle of this defense where he just plays physical at the point of attack. And when he gets downhill, it's going to be hard stopping him when he gets downhill and he starts really ripping up into that offensive line. So that'll be really interesting as well. Let's see here. Crazy to think the refs sold the Louisville game. That fair catch call could have come back to really hurt Pitt's season. Should have been 17-0 Pitt with our ball to 50. Yeah, but also, too, it was on us. I mean, that changed the whole trajectory of the game. But, hey, we had turnovers in the red zone. We had turnovers on our side of the football field. I mean, we made mistakes in that game. I think it changed the trajectory of that game for sure, and they got free 7 points out of it. That is a very good point by you, but I think Pitt lost the game. Louisville did not beat us. We lost the game because of the stupid shit that we did. I think personally, in my opinion. Edward Brown, Marcus Jennings is going to be a fight, but if he is looking at linebackers at Pitt, he should keep that in mind. I agree. It's just going to be very interesting what happens with University of Michigan. You know what I mean? He's a Michigan kid. Whenever they get that kind of offer, you got to keep that. Keep your eyes open to that and see what that looks like. And even in Michigan State up at East Lansing, I think they do a good job. Depending upon what happens up there, Jonathan Smith, the head football coach up at Michigan State, has a $33 million buyout. I would think that's a lot for Michigan State. But the way things are going right now in college football, that would not shock me to see Michigan State pull the trigger. God forbid they lose out. I think that potentially they could look to move on from Jonathan Smith. I mean, that's just kind of my opinion there. Could Pitt grab some Penn State targets? Yes. I mean, they are looking at a number of Penn State targets. We'll look at a bunch of guys here. We'll pull up their commitment list and see if guys are looking at. Obviously, Matt Sieg is one of those guys that they're looking at. That I feel very comfortable with. I think that Pitt has an opportunity to really land that commitment after he makes all of his visits. We'll see where that goes and see how that monitors. But when we're getting towards December here, the early portion of December is that first signing period. And I know Pitt really wants to lock that up to certainly just get their class and to get their ducks in order. So I think, hey, right now, I say we're sitting here on November 6th. You probably got about 5-6 weeks left, just making sure you lock up this commitment, lock up this staff. And then, again, it's a bye week. The staff contacted all the commitments to Pitt here at this point. They certainly have a level of contact, and they certainly contact them every single week as well. Looking at the rest of this class here, a really good one here. Lincoln Hoke out of the great North Allegheny High School, or as I call it, North Allegheny University. Head football coach there, Art Walker Jr. Plenty of history there between his dad, obviously being a legend at Mount Lebanon with the Mount Lebanon Blue Devils and multiple WPIAL and state titles. Defensive lineman, he'll be a defensive tackle, 6'2", 260. I think, and obviously if you're wondering Hoke, yes, it is Chris Hoke, the former Pittsburgh Steelers defensive lineman, who is his father. Obviously, certainly has his traits. I think this kid is a damn good football player. This is probably one of the higher ones on West Virginia's board. We beat West Virginia out for this kid. I think he's going to be a damn good football player. Has a lot of the tenacity that his dad played with. A lot of physicality. Not afraid of contact. Not afraid of getting physical at the point of attack. Very strong hands, violent hands at the defensive tackle position. That'll certainly help him out. And I think at 6'2", being a guy that's technically, as they call it, undersized in our defensive style and our physical defense and our downhill attack style defense, Lincoln Hoke could be a really damn good football player as the year goes on. Then we have here Wyatt Villarreal, Salina, Texas. I posted about him recently. They have him as a wide receiver here, but he will be a tight end at the University of Pittsburgh. Again, 6'5", 226. He is having himself a hell of a season. Over 600 yards receiving. He's getting close to 1,000 yards receiving as a tight end in Texas. Plays for one of the better high schools in Texas at Salina High School. Over 50 receptions on the season, so they certainly use him as a passing target. That is really good for this style of offense at Pitt. Pitt loves to certainly throw the football. We need tight ends that can block, but also tight ends that can run down the seam, be physical down the football field, being able to create separation, strong hands when that ball is thrown up to you. We expect to make a catch there over the middle, or especially we put them on the outside. You see a lot of times we go to 11 personnel. We'll put the tight ends on the outside, create some really good mismatches. I think Wyatt Villarreal is a guy that you can say, hey, he can be a guy you put out on the outside, create a lot of great mismatches to go down the football field, really stretch the field, especially when you're on your own side of the football field or when you're in the red zone. He's a guy you can certainly throw the ball up to, and I think he can be a damn good football player. He's having a hell of a year. Another guy that will be really coached up and developed like you want to at the tight end position by Jacob Bronowski. Really damn good football coach. And again, another kid out of Texas. I'd say they did a damn good job. Speaking of the state of Texas, South Lake Carroll. South Lake, Texas, Angelo Renda, another quarterback in this class. Pitt's taking 2 quarterbacks. Angelo Renda, I believe, is the prize in this one. It's 6 foot, 180 pounds. I think he's a damn good player. I think him and Daly, you look at this thing, and, I think Pitt's picking up 2 damn good quarterbacks. Very physical. A guy that can certainly take a beating because the guy certainly loves to run the football. A dual threat quarterback, strong arm, a guy who is having a hell of a year. I mean, the passing yards this kid has, the passing touchdowns this kid has. When you're in Texas putting up these kind of numbers, it means you're a baller and you can certainly play at a high level, not just in the state of Texas, but in the Power 4. I think he's going to be a damn good addition to the University of Pittsburgh. And then when you got a guy, more than likely Eli Holstein will hit the portal. He'll be on his way. Cole Gonzalez, I think, will find a way. I think there's talk about maybe him getting another year. It'd be great if you had Mason Heinschel, Cole Gonzalez at 2, and then Angelo Renda and Cole and Daly be able to fight it out and be able to see who takes that 3rd spot. But then you got 4 quarterbacks, 4 scholarship quarterbacks on the rosters, which you really want in college football. I think that room would be pretty damn good if you ask me. I think that's a pretty good room top to bottom. So really excited about that one for Pitt. Michael Van Der Ord, offensive tackle out of St. Ignatius in Cleveland, Ohio. Out of the great state of Ohio, 6'7", 280 pounds. I think that this one here, I think that he's going to be, he'll stay offensive tackle. I don't think he'll move to tight end. Big guy. I mean, depending upon how he runs and what he looks like, but I think he is more of a, people might say more of a risk, like low risk, high reward. I think that, one, he's going to be able to get into the Pitt Ironworks, add more weight to him, but also, 2, be able to really develop in this system. I think a guy like that, from my understanding and when looking at his tape, he looks like he has great footwork. I think he's actually going to be a damn good offensive tackle. A number of different schools. We were to flip him from a group of 5 school. Really good. I think he'll be pretty damn good at this school. And I think he actually, in our system, and for how fast-paced we go, I think he'll be pretty damn good. Out of the Pine Richland High School, Gibsonia, PA, hometown hero, Whippeal recruit, John Curran, a really damn good physical. You watch this kid's tape. He's going to be a damn good player, whether he plays center or he plays guard. Some people say, the height, he's 6'3". I don't think that's a problem. I think he can play guard or center. Some people might say, why was he a miss on some people? Maybe the arm length that they look at and say, hey, his arm length isn't long enough. So where they say, hey, he can't play tackle at the guard position. Is that going to be a potential issue there? I don't think it is. I think he's a physical football player. You grew up in this, in the city of Pitt, with the Whippeal, in the city of Pittsburgh, in a place like Pine Richland, all the way up north. I think he's a really good football player. Go watch the tape. I mean, use your eyes. Don't look at Rivals or 247 or On 3. Go watch this kid play. He looks like a Power 4 offensive lineman. He's very physical at the point of attack, very athletic offensive lineman, and that's what you heard really all through these offensive linemen. Very athletic offensive lineman, but a guy that really finishes his block, pancake blocks, a lot like out of Texas up here. You'll see his name here, Nicholas Howard out of Pearland, Texas. I mean, he's a guy that I think that, those two are going to be pretty damn good. I think Howard can play guard or tackle. John Curran is a guy who can certainly play center or guard, and I think he's going to do really well, in my opinion. I think people are really missing on him. I think he's that physical. I think he's that fast with his footwork, but also, too, he's got violent hands. I'm excited for him, and I'm really pumped up for him to be a Pitt man because I know he wanted to go to Pitt, so I'm really excited about that one. Last but not least, Isaac Patterson, safety at a Westerville South High School, Westerville, Ohio, safety, 6 foot, 180 pounds. Depending upon if he plays safety or wide receiver, we'll see. I think he can play either side of the football, in my opinion. Really good football player. Again, can high point the ball if he's on defense. Very athletic guy that can play both sides. Sometimes you look at a guy on defense or, a DB on defense or offense. It's either one or the other, especially for a guy. The DBs certainly don't have a great opportunity to catch the football. They drop it a lot. This kid can certainly catch the football, and I think he can be a really positive attribute to the DB room, or even if he had to on the wide receiver core as well. Number of guys, though. But damn, all-time commits. Always love looking at this stuff here, too. Jonathan Baldwin, Russell Shell was here. Dorian Johnson, Lucas Nix, Paris Ford, Doran Dickerson, Nate Bynum, who's the offensive coordinator at Stanford, Larry Fitzgerald, Shane Hale, another guy there. It's really good stuff there overall. Really cool to see all those guys back in the day. Larry Fitzgerald, 4-star. Jonathan Baldwin, 5-star. Russell Shell, 5-star. Always cool. Always good looking at that stuff right there. But a damn good time. And I think a damn good class, in my opinion. Hoke is closer to 6 foot. I don't agree with that. I saw him in person. He's definitely taller than 6 foot, brother. Who was the best overall tight end on the team right now? I would say Jake Overman. Jake Overman's the best one right now. He's in his last year. Malachi Thomas behind him. Malachi Thomas continues to get better from what he looked like in the beginning of the year, dropping all those passes, potential touchdown passes. He has gotten better as the year has gone on. Jacob Bronowski's done a really good job there. He continues to get better. Max Hunt's back there. Jordan Holmes. He's also there, the tight end transfer from Marshall. He'll be back for another year as well. So next year you'll have Malachi Thomas, Holmes, Max Hunt, and then Wyatt Villarreal. So you got really good four guys up there that you really say, hey, can really go out there and catch the football. I can't wait to see if Wyatt Real gets to play a little bit as a true freshman, because I think he's that good of a player. Who do you think has to have a good game to beat Notre Dame? Very good point. Well, number one, the most obvious, Mason Heinchel's number one. The quarterback position just means so much in college football. We cannot turn the ball over like we did against Stanford. We cannot fumble the ball like we did against Stanford. We need to tuck the football, protect the football. Would like to see Cade Bell, and again, he's aggressive. And as I told people during the game, I was getting bitched at by a lot of people that said, oh, he ran Mason Heinchel. Well, as I was told from a number of different people, which you saw it as well, it was definitely an option to where he was supposed to get rid of the football regardless. It was a broken play. He ends up running, fumbles the football. It was not a call design run. From numerous people I talked to, Cade Bell did not want to run him at all there and was pissed off about it there as well. I think regardless, that's the number one factor to me is that, we want to see a little more run the football in the inside the 5-yard line, limit those mistakes. But Mason Heinchel certainly does a great job of learning from mistakes, so I'm not too concerned about it. I think he'll know we need to protect the football. Number two, besides the quarterback, the offensive line. I think that if the offensive line really wants to shut these naysayers up, man, this is it. If you can dominate the line of scrimmage, you will win the football game. And that's really, for both these teams, when I look at both, whoever controls the line of scrimmage will win this football game, in my opinion. Also, the offensive line, and then also goes for the defensive line. Controlling the line of scrimmage. Offense being able to create time for Mason, get the ball out quick, being able to make sure they do a really good job of pass protection, getting the time that they need to create some spaces and some gaps for the run game. But on the defense side of the football, stop the run. Our defense is predicated on stopping the run. So I want to see Pitt continue that. I mean, again, you're not every week you're going to have negative 10 rushing yards. I mean, that's absolutely freakish to what Pitt was able to do against Stanford, and incredible job by them. I think Jimmy Scott had himself a hell of a ball game. He did a hell of a job. I thought Nate Temple had himself a damn good football game. Jaden Moore got in there in the first half, had a number of great pressures. He did a good job there. Joey Zielinski did a good job there. I'll be excited to see, I think, Blaine Spires should be back in this football game. He's a guy that's been in and out and injured and whatnot this year. Hopefully we get him back. The more, the merrier. But the D-line and the O-line would be number two. Number one is the quarterback position because it's just the most important. It is what it is. Number two, controlling the line of scrimmage, offensive line and defensive line. You want to shut people up, this is how you do it. But in terms of players, I want to see Mason Heinchel have himself a day. On the defensive side of the football, I want to see, I want to see, Kyle Lewis, Rasheem Biles, those two guys step up, play like the All-Americans that they are. Cruz Brookins will be back. He'll be ready to go. I want to see him play at the All-American level that he's playing at this year. And the one guy that, I really want to see in the offensive line play well, really the offensive line, Kendall Stanley. Be the guy that we know you can be. Go back to being that guy that was just damn good at Florida State. Was damn good, after that Syracuse game. Who we faced there after Syracuse? NC State. Damn good football game against NC State. I think that kid can play at this level. I think that kid can be really special at this level. I want to see how he plays at that left tackle position and really how he spurts onto the scene and see how he responds. In my opinion, I think he responds. I think he does a good job not this week, but next week. Pitt fan, hail to Pitt. Can't wait to watch the Sharks makes the crowd get pumped. I can't agree with you more, man. It is going to be, if you can get tickets to this football game, get your ass there, because it's going to be a hell of a time. It's going to be loud. It's going to be loud. You got two top 25 opponents. Pitt fans show up for the two top 25 teams. It's going to be fun, man. I mean, this game's going to be fun. Georgia Tech game's going to be fun down there. And then for the final say all, man, you got a top 25 opponent, Miami, coming here. It's going to be a hell of a game after Thanksgiving. We'll see what the Panther Pit looks like, because obviously everyone goes away on break, obviously, for Thanksgiving, so that's understandable, but we'll continue to monitor it. Last but not least, let's go into a couple of these. I know we're at the hour mark, but we're doing a good job here tonight. It's 9:30. We got some time here. We've got roughly, between all three social medias at this point, we've got roughly over 732 people here. 732 people. Make sure if you haven't done so, down below, real easy right now. Hit the like button. Head over to YouTube. Hit the like button. Subscribe. If you want to get a question up on the screen here as we get down towards the wire here to ending the show, hit the super chat button down below. We'll get yours up there. And again, appreciate Brian Thompson in the super chat here tonight. Another Wombat, appreciate you with the super chat. And Pitt fan, hail to Pitt. Thank you, sir, for the super chat. Let's see here. Great question here. I've seen a couple talking heads like Herbstreit saying Pitt can make it by winning out. If Pitt wins out and doesn't win the AC championship game, I don't see them putting them in at large. I actually do. Because if they win out, and then I don't see them if Pitt wins out and doesn't win the AC championship game. Well, if they don't win the AC championship game, that would put them at 3 losses. Now, if they don't make the ACC championship game and they win out, Pitt's going to have 4 ranked wins. I would think that they're more than likely going to be up there. I think that's the potential where you have 2 or 3 ACC teams get in again. That's my opinion. Let's see here. I'm going to look up some of these jobs here. All right. Looking at a number of these jobs, according to sources, everybody has projected that Lane Kiffin will be coaching 8 teams next year. Lane Kiffin, certainly the hot topic on a number of football teams. For me, I think he's going to Florida. That would be my projection from people that I've talked to. LSU, Penn State. All right, here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you guys here. Go into this a little bit. Share screen. Ranking the jobs. All right, you guys see it there. Why do people keep saying the ACC is weak and they have at least 5 or 6 solid teams? Because it's the whole debacle if you're not in the SEC or the Big Ten. I don't trust any of the stuff like the Big 12 says. That's like, I hate to say it, like it actually makes it worse for them because it produces this little brother syndrome where last year they thought they're gonna have 2 or 3 teams in, they only had 1 team in, they lost. They just don't have the major brands. They don't have a team in there that's just dominant. I think when you look at their rosters and their whole entire standings, I mean, go look through that. I mean, their bottom barrel teams are absolutely horrid too. I mean, like Boston College is bad, but they competed. Boston College, they might be 1-8, but guess what? They almost beat Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame's a top 10 team apparently. You know, I just can't. I can't get on with that. Could Pitt get involved with Maryland's commits if Loxley is dismissed? Loxley was dismissed. We'll have to look at their class. I think a lot dependent upon their systems. We'll have to see if their players match the system we have here and see if it's there. But I've been saying before, I think the ACC is a lot deeper than anybody else has thought, and it's kind of proven out to be that way. 5 ranked teams. You got a number of teams back and forth that can win that conference and win those games. I think it's kind of in the point there. But anyways, here. First one up, the LSU Tigers. For me, there's a number of head football coaches you can go this way here. They're getting rid of Brian Kelly. Again, Brian Kelly, just an incredibly great person with high standards. Would never do anything to absolutely just fuck over any other, organization or, any other kids potentially or potentially get someone killed. That would not be that guy. He's just a high, great guy with high standards. He gets fired. For me, the LSU position, I think LSU, if they would be dumb not to hire John Summerall. John Summerall is the head football coach in Louisiana at Tulane. I think he's that good of a head football coach. He's been looking for an SEC job. I think he gets LSU or Auburn. If LSU doesn't take him, Auburn will certainly take that guy. I don't think Auburn's a great job, to be quite frank with you. I think it's a really overrated job because of how the donors really run that job. We'll talk about that more down at the bottom when we get to that one. But LSU, I would say John Summerall should get this one, in my opinion, and for where they should go. Hasn't won consistently, but they've won they've won a natty with 3 different head coaches. Number 2 here, James Franklin gets fired. This one is getting harder and harder to predict. There's a lot of smoke screens out there. I didn't truly believe them. Urban Meyer was never interested in the Penn State job. He's not going to ruin his legacy from Ohio State, especially too that Penn State does not have the resources that Ohio State has. That's just a fact. I don't think Brian Hartline would leave Ohio State to go to Penn State as well. I think he's looking for some other stuff there to go get a head coaching job somewhere else, and then potentially when Ohio State opens up, he goes back to Ohio State. I wouldn't be shocked by that. This one, I think that you have to look at Eli Drinkowitz, the head football coach at Missouri, Clark Lee, Vanderbilt. I still don't think Clark Lee would leave Vanderbilt, his alma mater. I don't think he would. But Eli Drinkowitz, Clark Lee, Matt Campbell out of Iowa State. I think he's a guy to watch there. I think he actually do pretty well at Penn State because he can actually develop talent. Matt Campbell would probably be on that list, and then who's the last but not least? I just had in my brain there. Had a brain fart. Who else is on that list? One more name. I'll think of it there. I mean, Manny Diaz was mentioned, but I don't think Manny Diaz is a guy that you can go from Duke to Penn State. And I mean, regardless, when you look at the number of names they're looking at right now, they try Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman wanted nothing to do with them. Urban Meyer didn't want anything to do with them. This Mike Elko from Texas A&M to Penn State, I don't buy that at all either. He's got plenty and all the resources that he wants. He's got more resources at Texas A&M. In the SEC, I don't see him leaving there. And then Brian Hartline, I don't see Brian Hartline going there either. I think they're more than likely. Matt Roll got locked up for another deal. I think they're really down, in my opinion, to, I think it's down to Eli Drinkowitz, Matt Campbell, and Clark Lee. I think those 3 guys that are there. I think those are the 3 guys that they're looking at there, to be quite frank with you. And they whiffed on Kurt Signetti. Kurt Signetti didn't have any interest going there. Let's see here. Yeah, Pat Kraft, man, what a crazy thing he did there. $700 million renovation to their Beaver Stadium. A school doesn't make front-end financial decisions such as firing Franklin without being committed on the back end with his replacement and a top group of on-field assistants and supporting staff. Kraft made it clear that Penn State's position to compete for national championships. We'll see about that. We've heard that every year. This one here, Florida Gators, Billy Napier. I think this is all Lane Kiffin, in my opinion. I think Lane Kiffin goes there. The most significant one, that's a special place to him. I think that's just a no-brainer for him. I think he goes there. Jason Candle. Yeah, Jason Candle's definitely not going there. Oh, yeah, Brent Key. That was another name. I don't think Brent Key leaves Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's his alma mater. If it wasn't his alma mater, then I would have him up there too. Great stream tonight. JJ got to run. I'll be tuning in all next week. Appreciate you, Pitt fan. Hail to Pitt. Thank you for tuning in tonight. But this with Florida Gators, I've got Lane Kiffin taking this job. Auburn Tigers. John Summerall will be in the running for this one. DJ Durkin, I've been told, in the running for this one. I wouldn't be shocked they try to bring back Gus Malzahn. He may be another one. Glenn Schumann, defensive coordinator at Georgia. I think he may be a guy. Hartley, defensive back coach over at Georgia, should be a guy they look at. That'll be a really interesting one as that one goes on. Auburn hasn't lacked in financial support, but yeah, this job for me, this job is so overrated because one, they fire Hugh Freeze, but then you look at the coaches; they've had 4 coaches in 6 years. I mean, that's an absolute shit show. And it's the donors that ruined that job. And I thought Brian Harsin was a great hire there at the time when they hired him. He realized how much of a shit show it is down there. I just think they'll never get their stuff together. I just don't see Auburn ever really competing for an SEC title ever again. Oklahoma State, this will be a really tough job. I think, you look at Oklahoma State, USF head football coach Alex Golesh, former coordinator, former assistant at Oklahoma State. I think he could be a guy that goes in there and coaches for Oklahoma State. Will Stein from Oregon, offensive coordinator up there. I could see him going down to Oklahoma State. That's a tough job. They're not doing very well with resources and NIL. Oklahoma State. That's why they've just been crumbling the past really 2 or 3 years. They got to get their NIL situation really figured out. But Alex Golesh, I think, would probably, in my opinion, be the front runner there, or like a Will Stein. I think he'd be a guy there to watch there too. Let's see here. The Virginia Tech Hokies. This is a good one. Obviously, the name that has really been sourcing around this one after the firing of Brent Pry, former defensive corner of Penn State. James Franklin is a guy that has been just circling this job. I think personally for James Franklin, for a guy who can't win the big game, I think for a Virginia Tech team to win, looking to win 8, 9, 10 games a year, potentially 11 games a year. I think that James Franklin can be that guy. I don't think they'll win a national championship with him, but with that, with the fan support, they've certainly gotten, went behind closed doors and talked about how they're going to try to go up towards the top in terms of, financial support for the football team, because they've certainly been lacking there. Absolutely horrible job in terms of, financially supporting their football teams. I think James Franklin's the front runner there until someone else says otherwise. My understanding from talking to enough people, Jimmy Sexton is his agent, and Jimmy is a agent for all head football coaches. I think they are squeezing every bit of money right now. They are just truly messing with Virginia Tech, in my opinion. I think also James Franklin's a head coaching job or a head coaching candidate for Auburn in the SEC. Because he wants to talk about winning national championships again. If he wants to try to win a national championship, he might take Auburn because they certainly have a lot more resources than Virginia Tech. Although I think it's an easier path going to Virginia Tech, where you have another great group of teams in there and an opportunity to try to go win a conference title and then get in with an at-large bid or even just winning your conference. I think that'd be a really good one. And I mean, I give Virginia Tech fans credit, man. They could be 6-1 or 1-6. Those fans are showing up, and I think it's such a really good job. I mean, in terms of fan support, but we'll see what they do in terms of resources. Let's see here. Yeah, see, its lack of finances to maintain its place in college football hierarchy. It has lacked the finances, but the recent board decision on the upcoming budget increase could be a game changer, both for the type of candidate Virginia Tech attracts. If Virginia Tech wasn't making this new $229 cash infusion, you wouldn't even think about it. Yeah, exactly. if you're Virginia Tech, you're never going to be resourced like Miami, Clemson, and Florida State. Another industry story pointed out, if you're Virginia Tech, you're never going to be resourced like Miami, Clemson, and Florida State. So, I mean, that's up there too. Virginia Tech is a football school and a winnable conference that can make a significant step in newfound financial backing with the right coaching hire. And again, bring back the forward. We know that Virginia Tech is not going to be status quo, but they've still got to show some deliverables on that. Industry Short says, if Virginia Tech wasn't making this new $229 million cash infusion, you wouldn't even think about this job. Shane Beamer, he's going to be a guy that looks that Virginia Tech. That's another guy too. If they can't land James Franklin, Shane Beamer, the head football coach at South Carolina, will be a guy there because obviously his dad coached there. He's been a guy that certainly watched there, and I think he may take that job because he may get fired from South Carolina. To be honest with you. Tepper ain't doing nothing. That's not true. Tepper's very much involved and has donated over 7 figures this year. So he's done a good job. And he's been that way, especially he's covered really all the scholarships with Pitt basketball. He did a lot of stuff there. That's why you've seen him at games and stuff like that too. Arkansas Razorbacks, I think Ryan Silverfield, the head football coach at Memphis, is a guy to watch here. Even the Virginia Tech job, Bobby Chesney, head football coach at JMU, he's a guy to watch there. Arkansas Razorbacks, Bobby Chesney, Ryan Silverfield, those are guys to watch at that spot as well. I think it's a potential there. Potentially James Franklin, another James Franklin looking up there. Arkansas would be more than happy with 8, 9, 10 wins a year. I can tell you that right now. He'll certainly be a guy they look at or try to certainly approach. Ton of money in Northwest Arkansas and around the university, especially through the Walmart and Tyson Foods connections. The key is whether Yurchek and Arkansas can drum up enough support for football to give them a program better chance of competing at the SEC heavies. Yeah, they just struggle with a little bit of money there. Stanford, the firing of Troy Taylor, Frank Reich is there right now. Frank Reich is obviously the former head football coach with the Carolina Panthers. He's done that job this year. Andrew Luck, that's an interesting job out there. I think that, to be quite frank with you, I think Frank Reich might just get that job, depending upon where they go and where they land. That'll be interesting. They got a huge $50 million donation. Of course, here it is. It says here, earlier this month, Stanford announced a $50 million gift from alum Bradford M. Freeman that will go to the football program. Levin called it a game-changing gift. I couldn't agree more. UCLA, I'm not really even sure who's going to look at UCLA because all their money issues right now, they certainly don't have the support backing there. Their interim head football coach is a guy to watch there as well. A number of different guys. Their OC is another guy. I can't remember his last name. He was with an N. I can't believe his dad's an announcer for CBS. Really good guy. Is it Nuttmeyer? No, I can't remember. But not a very high-ranking job there, to say the least. And then that's the kind of last job right now. But, well, I think that's kind of it. Reich doesn't want it. I thought they talked about that on the broadcast. Niall Housel, yeah, that's another one there. But, guys, no more super chats there, I see. That's the end of the show here tonight. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. Guys, the show is what it is because of you guys. Cannot thank you enough for all your support. Down below, make sure you hit the super chat button. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Our goal, guys, is to get to 2,000 subscribers. We're almost there. We're almost at 1,500 subscribers. Or no, we're more than that. We're at 1.6. A little over 1,600 subscribers. We want to get to 2,000 subscribers. Help me get there. We're going to be close to getting there. We're certainly growing at a rapid pace, so make sure we get that there. Certainly appreciate you guys for tuning in to another episode. Guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. As always and forever, hail to Pitt, hail the ACC. Let the thunder roll. Play Thunderstruck and let it ride. I'll see you guys next time.